This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 324, How Personalized Prospecting Generates More Leads, an interview with Ankesh Kumar.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers. Last fall, I met our guest, Ankesh Kumar, and he had a new outbound sales tool, and it's called Let's Chat. In fact, it was featured on the Top 10 Sales and Marketing Tools episode that I do with Neil Christensen just before Christmas. Since then, his team has been working on a new challenge of raising prospecting productivity. It's hard to stand out in a competitive market, so he decided to create a tool that would personalize outreach. This is the thing. I'm always being asked, "Hey, Pat, what can I do to get more and better leads?" That's what today's episode is all about. But before we get to the interview, I'd like to remind all the sales babblers that on Wednesday, June 10th at 1 o'clock Central, I'll be hosting a free webinar on non-pushy sales on LinkedIn. Go to the show notes and you can sign up for that. Next, on Thursday afternoon, I'll be hosting the Telebabble teleconference call that we do each week on sales, and this week we'll be talking, of course, about prospecting. It's a free way for you to ask me questions and people on the call too. So, with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome, Ankesh. Are you ready to babble?
Yes, sir. Ready to roll.
It's great to have you on here, especially since you and I have been chatting since, October last year. So I'm excited to have you on. You're a serial entrepreneur. Lots of studies show that 9 out of 10 startups fail, but you've been successful and you're starting a new one now. Why have you been successful, Ankesh, when others have fallen short?
Well, I mean, it's all relative. I mean, I've had my fair share of failures as well. But I think that, the model that I've deployed more recently is more about sort of failing quickly, right? So you don't put too much time and money into any particular venture if you don't think it's got any potential. And so I failed enough times, but you just have to sort of be truthful to yourself. You have to look in the mirror, not drink your own Kool-Aid, and say, are you really solving a problem that people have? Is there a real pain? And be truthful to yourself. So I think that's this sort of approach that I've tried to take.
In the last few ventures that you and I have been talking about, they've all been wrapped around the process of selling. Why?
Well, sales is in my heart. My first job out of college was in sales. Back in London, I was working for a staffing company, Reed, and I worked for Xerox, selling copiers. Walking behind the Canon salesperson, and it was just like one door after the other. And it's just a lot of fun. Sales is fun. I've always enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed being around salespeople. They got a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. And so it's an area that I feel very close to.
So do you think of yourself as a salesperson first or an entrepreneur first now?
Good question. Yeah, a bit of both. I think you have to be a salesperson if you're an entrepreneur. And you have to be an entrepreneur if you're a salesperson. So I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. They do. So since you keep building solutions, and I've seen you build multiple solutions in the selling space, in your opinion, what do you think is the most challenging issue sellers face?
I think it's just right now there's just a lot of noise. And as a prospect, we all, whether we're salespeople, or entrepreneurs, or CFOs, we're always getting sold to, correct? And I think that we all realize there's just a lot of noise, a lot of people reaching out to us, trying to grab our attention. So I think the hardest thing right now for salespeople is to get on top of that, on top of the mind of the prospect, get on their radar. I think that's the toughest challenge right now. There's so many, in the old days, it was just phones. We'd pick the phone up and send physical mails. Then email came about. Now you have social media, LinkedIn messaging, and people are so distracted every time there's a ping on their phone. texting or a Facebook post. So it's just, attention, finding the attention of the prospect is the biggest challenge.
It seems to me too, there's so much choice now that didn't used to be. You used to have 2 or 3 choices. Now you have millions.
Exactly.
And you get yourself in a case of analysis paralysis. And that's not good for sellers.
Yeah, I mean, choice is always good, but I think that it's just if you have a lot of whether direct or indirect competitors, and they're taking away mind share of your prospect, that's the piece that as a seller that you need to work on. And as a prospect, you just have to be a lot more efficient. I mean, I get, when I get sold to, I always try to respond to salespeople, when they request to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me a message. And at least, I always think it's better than getting ghosted to let the salesperson know that this is something that you are looking at or not looking at. But unfortunately, not all prospects do that. So you're left a little bit in the lurch. And I think that the frustration is, sometimes it's better to get a no than sort of than just to be ghosted as well. So I think that's part of the frustration that we have in sales.
It's always better to get a no. Where in your mind are sellers getting this wrong then when it comes to reaching out and prospecting and doing business development and that whole thing? What are they doing wrong?
I think right now what we're seeing is how people are selling is really is this volume and repetitiveness. So having a large list and just blasting that list and then blasting them numerous times. There's usually in a cadence or a sequence there's about a dozen steps, and I think that that's been proven to work, and it's good to do that. Have a large enough prospect list. But I think that anyone that's ever done any sort of personalization knows that is. I mean, I wouldn't over dramatically say this, but it's kind of like the holy grail. I was actually talking to someone this morning, and they were telling me that they actually, did a little research on their prospect. It was actually in the medical field, and it was a professor, and he actually wrote a paper, and it was on YouTube. He actually watched the video, and this professor actually responded back to him and saying, you actually took the time and watched my video, and I had to respond back to you, even though I don't have the budget to do anything, but I just wanted to say thank you. And I think you build that human connection with the prospect. That you're there looking after their interest and want to understand them. And I think that's the that's the boat that most people are missing. So I think that's something that I think we're going to see more and more, and it's got to be a real touch. It's got to be with feeling, as opposed to this just automated sequence and cadence of numerous messages that's blasting the prospect, which they get eventually frustrated with, unsubscribe or take the meeting, and usually it's the former.
This marketing approach, this digital marketing approach, which has become so popular in the last 10 years, that's all that is. They're trying to make a mechanical, repeatable, no effort on the seller's part of view. And somehow, amazingly, a prospect would pick up the phone and call you.
Yeah. And it's got to be real. I mean, I'll give you an example. I was actually, someone reached out to me on LinkedIn and saying, hey, given your experience with computer software, we have the same interest, and I thought I'd reach out to you. And I thought, shoot, do I actually have computer software on my LinkedIn profile? And I looked at that skill wasn't one of my, skills or attributes. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. So, this person obviously got a list of people that he thought were in the technology space, and just used a term that was sort of relevant to all the people in that list, and just put that as a kind of personalization. And so that kind of fell flat. It has to be real. It has to be a one-to-one. So if you actually look at the market, what you're doing now, you have this prospect list of X, and you have one message, one template that you're sending them to all. The ideal scenario would be if you've got that X, let's say 1,000 or 5,000, you have 5,000 different messages that you send to those 5,000 people simultaneously. That's what we see as the future of personalization.
How can you personalize, though?
That's where the magic comes in, right?
Well, we can only really know, supposedly. I think I've think some psychologist or sociologist wrote this, that you can really only know about 100 and 150 people.
Well, no, I mean, clearly, if you got a prospect list of 5,000 people, you probably don't know any of them. But what you can do is you can look at their social footprint, and you can look at something they posted on Twitter, on LinkedIn, their likes, their dislikes, or comments they've made, or on Facebook, or their company has posted something. So you have a lot of signals out there, and you can pick those signals up, and then you can custom a message towards that, and that's basically where we see this market going.
This reminds me of something that Niki Ivy, who was just a guest a few weeks ago, said, was that you can learn a lot about somebody on LinkedIn, but if you want to know who the real person is, look them up in Twitter.
Correct. Yeah, it's funny. My daughter, who's 18, just joined LinkedIn, and she, of that generation, Instagram and Twitter and everything else, and she completely commented on that fact that the kind of pictures that you post and the kind of stuff that you did is it's your professional resume, your persona. When Twitter and Instagram and Facebook is you with your tie off and and just chilling with your friends. You do get a better sense of an individual.
But I want to go back to something you said. You said that if you were to look at all of these, you would get a much better sense of the person. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. Typically people that do personalized messages, they can do 15 to 20 a day because it is a lot of work to go to Google, to go to Facebook, to LinkedIn, Twitter, to the company website. Good salespeople will go and look at their career section on the company website. Are they hiring? What kind of people? To give them some. They may even go look at their 10 Qs to look at what the strategic imperatives of the company are, so they can sound more educated. And that is a lot of work. And so that's what we're solving at Sharetivity. With one click, you can actually get all of the stuff that I mentioned in one view. So it really shortens the process of personalizing it. And also, we've now just released as well custom messages. So depending where they went to school. So say they went to USC or MIT, and there's some post that MIT or their college, their alma mater's been to, you can add that in that personal message. So we really are automating that too. And this one company that we're talking to, they do between 17 to 20 personalized messages a day. That equates to 10 deals in the pipeline, 10 opportunities. So very simple maths, right? If you can double the amount of outreach, if you can get that to 40 a day, then you will have 20 opportunities in your pipeline. And the open rate is over 50%. If you actually mention that, hey, I see you went to Arizona State University and so on and so forth. I mean, that's something that that people will gravitate to, or they're following Bill Gates, or something like that. I mean, those are the kind of signals that we think that really will apply for personalization at scale.
So let me be clear. This thing's called Sharetivity.
Correct.
Now, when you and I first started talking last fall, I think you called it Let's Chat. Is this all the same software, I assume?
Let's Chat is actually more around chat functionality. So what we wanted to do with Let's Chat was more about using. There's products out there that sit on the websites that that allow you to chat with with a sales rep when someone visits the websites if they've got some quick questions.
Like Drift is a
Drift, yeah. So that's for inbound leads. So Drift is a chat function for inbound leads. What Let's Chat is chat for outbound. So you can include a chat button in your email or your LinkedIn message, and if you give your prospect a pitch in the email, like, this is what we do and we're really good at it, and here's some references and I'd love to talk with you. Now the prospect could hit the button and chat with you and say, well, and then your phone as a salesperson would ping, and you're having a live chat with your prospect. Clearly, phone works. It has done for decades, and email as well. But why not give your prospect another opportunity, another communication method for responding back to you? So that's what Let's Chat focused on.
So I'm interested in this whole process that you went through to get here to Sharetivity. How did that come about?
I actually was at a sales engagement platform company, which I won't mention. I was at their conference. It was happy hour the night before the conference started, and there was people from the company there. There was existing customers, new customers, and people who had an interest. And we were all having a glass of wine, and it's actually in San Diego, and it was a beautiful evening. And then one of the sales guys, as sales guys, we always tell war stories, right? And he's like, yeah, so this prospect finally called me up, and he said, you sent me 25 messages, and I'm going to just take a meeting just to kind of get you to stop messaging me. And everyone was laughing, it's like, but then I thought about it, man, put yourself in that prospect shoes. I mean, you want to build that you want to be in that situation, which that story I told you earlier about that professor saying, thank you for taking the time and looking at my YouTube video, or you want to be just beating them on the head. And so that's where sort of like the idea of Sharetivity came. Is how can you be personal and use the same automation as these sales engagement platforms, to that level, get personalization at scale. And we all know this, right? I mean, tell me anyone who's listening on your podcast that has not unsubscribed from emails. I mean, if not, ever, like in this last week. And so we all get frustrated. And so I think that, if you can do something meaningful and it's just going to be a better experience for everyone, the prospect and the salesperson.
So how does this Sharetivity, how would somebody use this? So what would my day-to-day activity look like?
So it's really simple. It's just this Chrome extension. So you basically, I'm sure most people have used the Chrome extension. You just go to the Chrome store, download it. It's like 30 seconds. And then when you're on a LinkedIn profile, you're talking, you're about to make an outreach to your prospect. You hit a button and it basically will then go and do a Google search. It will go and find the Twitter account of the prospect, the LinkedIn post, the company post. You can actually like and post from there as well. The company website, and also I think the real future of this is actually creating personalized messages. A lot of SDRs are fairly young, and they actually do a personalized message. So it's like finding a topic, like the college they went to, or someone recommendation they've got, and mentioning in the outreach message. Hey Patrick, that was a resounding reference that you got from Ankesh. I saw on LinkedIn. That made me want to reach out to you. And then all of a sudden, you see that, that I looked at that reference and taken it out, and then you're bound to, you're more likely to read what my pitch is, and that's all you can ask, right? I mean, if you can get, then making sure your pitch is tight and your call to action is tight, but the key is for them to open it up and actually take an interest and see that you've taken an interest in them. I mean, I'm sure that if ever you go on a date, you tell your date, hey, you're looking good today. I'd like the jacket, or your hair's done. People like to be told nice things about themselves, and you play to some sense to their ego, and that's it's as simple as that. You make it personal, make it sort of real. And you're just going to be more successful. I'm a lazy sales guy, right? And I think most people are, to be honest. And if I don't have to do the work in finding all that research and being able to get a higher response rate, and I used to tell my salespeople, hey, look, I don't care, if you're playing golf on Friday, as long as you hit your numbers on a Thursday. So if you can do the half the amount of work and still get the same results, or do the same amount of work and get double the results, that's where I'm at. I mean, as a salesperson, that's why I want to build for someone. Make personalized, simple, and easy. So just download the Chrome extension, hit the button, and in 3 seconds, you get suggested outreach messages. So it's very simple, very straightforward.
It's almost like a playbook for SDRs by having these pre-populated messages.
Right. I mean, I've seen a lot of these products. They have templates. So you have, when you're in like either Gmail, so there's some products that are built into Gmail to give you templates that you can use. The big difference with Sharetivity, we give you personalized templates. So something that's, a topic, whether it's, a reference or volunteer experience or some interest they've got, college they've gone to, and then you're leveraging that to make your outreach.
Can the listeners try this out?
Yeah, it's a free extension, so you can go to sharetivity.com and you can try it out. Just go through, and it gives you 30 profiles for free. But what I'm going to do for Sales Babble listeners is, if the first 10 people email me, and my email's ankesh@sharetivity.com, and in the email, just tell me the email you've used to sign up for it. I will give you the premier account 1 year for free, no charge. So just put in the subject line Sales Babble, in the body put your email address, and then I'll have our team make sure that you have a free account for the first 10 people that email me at Ankesh, ANKESH, at Sharetivity. That's the word share, ShareTivity.com.
I'll make sure and place that in the show notes. Although I might put spaces in between the ampersands so that you don't get spammed.
We're very grateful for that. Thank you so much.
I commonly do that. But yeah, this would be good. I'd like to see people try this and see what they think. This ties in well with this whole conversation I've been having this year about SDRs. Something I get constantly asked about all the time is like, what can we do to be more productive in our prospecting? Because it's really hard setting appointments and getting a sales call.
Right. Yeah, I think that, we started off the call talking about how trying to get your prospects' attention with just so much noise. And, so I think this is it's something it's going to say a no-brainer. It's got to happen, because how are you going to get above the noise, as opposed to another templated email. You've got templated emails and all these sales engagements, but they're all the same, and people can figure them out, and they're getting used to it because you're using them, your competitors are using them, even your not competitors are using them, and it's like people are just like, oh, again, and it's just like gets deleted. So you have to kind of like think different, as Steve Jobs once said.
Think different. Speaking of, you're in Silicon Valley, aren't you?
Correct, in Palo Alto.
Where all the great ideas come from.
Yeah, not all of them, but quite a fair amount. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Ankesh, thank you very much for visiting here on Sales Babble. Thanks for giving away these accounts to listeners. This is pretty kind of you.
My pleasure, and please give me some feedback as well. I'd love that. Awesome.
So I've got an announcement to make. Starting this week, Sharetivity is our new Sales Babble sponsor. If you attended the Telebabble last week, I pre-announced this. Now is the time to go and get a free account. Try this tool out. This is one of the most useful and practical prospecting tools I've seen in a long time. Again, it's in the Google Chrome store. You download it as an extension and then send an email to Ankesh that you heard it here on Sales Babble. I'm going to put the details of all this in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com/324. If you could take a moment to give us a 5-star review on this podcast, hey, I would really appreciate it, and share it with your friends if you found some value here, and if you find value in this new tool for Sharetivity. That's all I've got for this week. Until next week, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day. Sales starts with getting your prospects' attention. Given all the noise, you have to be different. You have to personalize your outreach. Unfortunately, it's time-consuming to go to Google, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube to find an icebreaker. It's a conundrum because personalized outreach converts significantly higher than canned emails. Picture the possibility that with one click, you could get a social footprint of your prospect, which would make personalized outreach faster. With Sharetivity, you instantly discover personal information regarding your interests, college, and social media posts on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. With Sharetivity, you can make each outreach personalized, yet fully automated to fill your pipeline. Sharetivity is a Chrome extension. Search for it in the Chrome Web Store. It only takes 2 minutes to download, and soon you'll be skyrocketing your prospecting productivity today. Sharetivity, one-click personalization.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.